From United's clever strategy to its newly added features that are simply genius, this is how United became so dangerously powerful.
First, a big thank you to United for being bold.
United rolling out a new flight plan.
And to start with, United revealed its new innovation called the air taxi. Just as it sounds, United mentioned that the idea was to fly people from the city centers such as New York and Chicago to major airports using a 4-seater electric air taxi. The flight will only take 10 minutes, and its cost will be similar to that of a regular Uber fee. Now that's crazy. But what's even crazier is United's new investment, which is so incredible that it will even change the whole aviation industry forever. The importance of keeping our Earth safe is more important now than ever. And in a bid to do their part, United took a major step. United, in partnership with 5 others, Air Canada, Boeing, GE Aerospace, JP Morgan Chase, and Honeywell, announced investment in the technology required for creating sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF. The fund will start with $100 million invested by the partners, which will lead to an increase in the availability of this fuel. With this, the aviation industry will be able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to meet more restrictive pollution standards. United also said that some of its customers can also donate to the fund in exchange for 500 frequent flyer miles. So, seems like a win-win for both us customers and the airline. But sadly, it's not good enough for United. Because despite how good this all sounds, United got in some serious troubles which can put the airline in jeopardy. In the post-pandemic era, there was a major increase in flight demands. Several airlines, including United, started thriving financially. But from eventually getting low demands to an increase in fuel prices, things started to go bad for the airline. In fact, it was even earlier projected that the airline will profit about 50 cents to $1 per share in the first quarter. But what actually happened was that they acquired a loss instead. This made investors panic, and the shares fell about 7%, which, when simply put, it's bad. This, coupled with all the other projects United invested in, such as training of new-gen pilots, has made it hard for the airline to stay afloat. But sadly, it didn't just stop there, as this problem also made United's situation worse in other areas. A good example is the awful food served on flights. Initially, the airline had served fresh food, but to cut costs, now they have frozen meals shipped to them and customers just have to make do. So basically what I'm suggesting is, you don't want to go on a United flight hungry. But lately, things have picked up again for the airline, due to some genius strategies they've made. After studying the flight demand trends, United announced a partnership with Air Canada. The plan is to have more than 80 transborder codeshare routes and over 260 daily flights, including non-stop flights from Vancouver and Calgary to Washington Dulles. This increase is bound to be a hit because it'll provide greater connectivity and more flexible flight times. But United didn't just stop there. In a shocking revelation, the airline announced that it will be partnering up with Emirates. Now what's interesting is that United and Emirates used to be foes due to some condescending statements made by a previous United CEO. But this new partnership will open doors for both airlines, which means more profits. Therefore, things have started to work for the airline, which basically made United want to dig even deeper to increase their performance, which they did by working on customer experience. In a bid to do a little something for customers, just like a few other airlines, United decided to hop on the free Wi-Fi train as well, but with a catch. To access free Wi-Fi, you have to be a T-Mobile subscriber. But besides that, they also returned new appetizers to flights between US and Europe, along with Japanese meals to Japan flights as well. And for first-class passengers on domestic flights, they also revealed an upgraded meal option. Sure, things aren't perfect yet, but at least they're on the right track by making the right moves. But despite these right moves, United got hit by another turbulence, which became a huge danger for the airline. In early 2023, United Airlines pilots organized a picket in front of San Francisco Airport in order to protest United's unwillingness to invest in its pilots. This started back in 2022 when the airline offered a 15% pay raise over 18 months, which got rejected by 94% of the pilots. Then they resumed negotiations, but due to the airline's financial struggle, the airline allegedly stalled a bit before making conclusions. And the pilots were having none of it. Now, negotiations are still ongoing, and it looks like the pilots are not going to accept any offer until they get every penny they deserve. Now that's serious. But what's interesting is, things never used to be this bad for United. In fact, there was a time when they used to be the best. This goes back to the days of the Boeing launch, when in the early 1900s, airlines including Varney Airlines, National Air Transport, Pacific Air Transport, and Boeing Air Transport were making waves. But a few years later, Boeing merged its subsidiary with Pratt & Whitney to form the United Aircraft Transport Corporation. This business took over Varney, National Air Transport, and the likes, and in the spring of 1936, United Airlines was born from these mergers. The airline soon became a household name and began breaking records. It was the first U.S. airline to order a jetliner, the first to publish its own in-flight magazine, and the first North American airline to fly the Boeing 787. And all through the years to the 1990s, the airline witnessed a global rise. In fact, in 1994, it became the largest employee-owned corporation across the globe due to its employee stock ownership plan. But nothing lasts forever, and thus, unfortunately, it took a turn for the airline. Due to the tragic event that happened in New York in 2001, United severely got affected. In 2002, it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and then took close to 4 years to get back on its feet. After exiting bankruptcy in 2006, the 2008 recession came, which sadly made them go back to square one. To try and get a grip, it merged with Continental Airlines in 2012, and then began to get back on its feet again. And right when it seemed like everything was going well, the airline again became involved in more major controversies. One of them being in 2017, when a video of a passenger being beaten up and dragged by security personnel had gone viral.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Even though United claimed it was a terrible mistake, the airline nonetheless earned a terrible reputation. But despite all these major blows, United still hasn't given up. And they've done so by bringing some new and innovative features to the airline. The most effective way airlines can get ahead is by winning its customers' hearts. And this was what United had in mind when it made a great decision. The airline announced a new seating map feature that will allow families with children under the age of 12 to find seats together without any extra charges. This new seat map technology will automatically find adjacent economy seats at the time of booking and also show available upgrades when needed. United believes this policy will, quote, take a lot of the stress out of the upfront process. So you book your ticket and you know you have a seat, instead of having to wait to get to the airport and cross your fingers and hope that you could get a seat next to your child. But as amazing as it sounds, the airline also made another incredible move, which is just brilliant. It's already proven that United is quite invested in sustaining the Earth, but this specific announcement is just over the top. The airline announced that it will invest $5 million into the biofuel company Viridis. The company's specialty is the conversion of microalgae into algae oil, and the airline has high hopes that the algae oil could one day be scaled to produce sustainable aviation fuel. According to current estimates, SAF created by Viridis' algae oil will have a 70% reduced carbon footprint when compared to traditional jet fuel. And since the airline has an ambitious goal to be 100% green by 2050, this is exactly what the airline needs, which can take them right to the top again in no time. But it won't be that easy for United, because turns out Delta also made some pretty major moves in the industry, due to which they're even brutally destroying the competitors. But what are these major moves, and how is Delta destroying its competitors? I know you want to know more about this, so just click the video right here.